Welcome to Insights. I'm Adam Rivers.
And I'm Sarah Collins. In this episode, we'll reflect carefully on the Qur'an verse by verse, focusing on wording, context, and coherence. Here on Insights, our goal is to uncover the profound layers of meaning beneath the surface of revelation. In our last episode, we explored a chilling psychological portrait. Individuals who publicly claim faith, but in the shadows with their inner circles, they laugh and say, "We were only mocking." It left us with a tense scene of ultimate deception.
Today we continue that exact scene with verse 15 of Surah Al-Baqarah, which reads, Allah mocks them and prolongs them in their transgression while they wander blindly. So Sarah, after seeing their secret arrogance, how does the Quran suddenly flip the script on who is really in control?
So, looking at this, how does this verse fundamentally alter that psychological scene we just spent so much time establishing?
Well, think about it like this. If someone thinks they're the absolute master of a game, what happens when they realize they aren't even the one setting the rules?
Oh, I mean, that would be completely disorienting.
Right. So the Quran isn't just, jumping between disconnected ideas here. It is completing a single continuous psychological scene.
Yeah.
The hypocrite genuinely thinks they are successfully playing with words. They're wearing faith as a mask in public and then just casually discarding it in private.
Like they've totally outsmarted everyone around them.
Exactly. They think they're the most capable of blending in. But then there's this really shocking grammatical choice. The verse starts explicitly with the majestic name Allah, rather than, a pronoun like he mocks them.
Wait, really? It starts right out with a name.
So it's almost like a real-life scenario of a corrupt employee who thinks they've entirely fooled their manager.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they suddenly realize the CEO has been watching the security cameras the whole time. Is this specific name placement meant to just completely shatter their illusion of control?
It absolutely shatters it. Placing the name right at the front abruptly cuts off their delusion.
It reminds you that existence isn't just some stage for limited human cleverness. Faith isn't a social commodity you can trade. It's a moral covenant with an ultimate truth that fundamentally cannot be deceived.
That is heavy. So, pivoting a bit, how can we even begin to understand this highly provocative word choice? I mean, what does it mean for the divine to be mocking them?
Well, let me ask you this. When we say a prankster made a fool of himself, do we mean he literally sat down in a chair and laughed at his own reflection?
No, of course not. That would be absurd.
Right. So we have to understand that the Quran uses the word mocks, which is yastaziyunat, to describe a human mood or some emotional reaction.
Okay.
It's used to establish a strict principle of reciprocation in consequence. Their mockery rebounds directly on them. They consciously made a joke of the truth, so the consequence is that their own actions make a joke out of them.
I see.
And here's a really profound fact about this. The verb is entirely in the present tense. It makes it a continuous, inescapable psychological law, rather than just some past historical event.
Wait, hold on. The present tense. So does that mean every single time someone tries to manipulate the truth today, this law is actively turning their deception into a trap? It reminds me of like a real-life internet scammer who gets so arrogant that they accidentally wire transfer their own savings away. Is it actively turning their deception against them like that?
That is exactly what it's doing. As long as they maintain their mockery, they are continuously met with this exact consequence.
That's terrifying.
It really is. It's a universal law. Whoever uses the truth as a plaything inevitably becomes a plaything of their own shifting desires,
Yeah.
Until they are entirely lost.
Yeah, which makes me want to look closely at this specific phrasing here. Why does the Quran use the preposition that translates to him mocking with or at them, like the word bihim?
Have you ever met someone who lives a lie for so long and so deeply that the lie actually becomes their entire world, not just a mask they wear?
Uncomfortably, yes. I definitely have.
Well, that's what Diham implies. It implies total envelopment. Yeah. The mockery isn't a direct one-time lightning strike.
Right.
It actually surrounds them as a lived environment. Every single time they try to prove they are smarter than sincere believers, a new paradox exposes their internal fragility. Their life basically becomes this repetitive play where they are completely trapped in their own role.
Gosh.
And the really profound thing here is the Arabic root of mockery has. It literally at its core means lightness. It means stripping away weight and dignity from something.
Right, lightness. That is so fascinating. It perfectly describes like real-life internet trolls who take serious, heartbreaking tragedies and just turn them into memes. Is this lightness actually the core crime here? stripping profound values of their natural weight.
You hit the nail on the head. By intentionally stripping faith of its dignity, the hypocrites end up losing their own dignity.
Wow.
The specific verb form implies they took this up as an intentional industry. It's their identity. Therefore, the divine response perfectly matches their chosen industry. If you kill the weight of values in your heart, you will inevitably be forced to live in a weightless, totally unstable world.
That image of being weightless is haunting. So, moving to the second action in the verse, what does it actually mean that they are prolonged? Like the Arabic word yamuduhum.
Well, if you want to catch a highly skilled thief who thinks he's brilliant, do you stop him at the first stolen penny, or do you extend his leash so he confidently leads you to his entire stash?
Oh, you definitely extend the leash if you want the whole stash.
Exactly. And that prolonging is the actual mechanism of this divine mockery.
Mm-hmm.
It means extending the rope, giving them time, and leaving them to their choices.
Okay.
They look at this extra time, or their worldly success, and they interpret it as a sign that they're winning. But here's the profound linguistic fact. The root word physically evokes extending a rope just long enough for someone to trip over it.
Wait, the rope itself is the trap. That's like a real-life corporate fraudster. You know, their initial small lies go unpunished, which makes them feel invincible, right? So they become brazen enough to commit a massive, undeniable crime. Is this delay and consequence actually the trap itself?
Yes, the delay is exactly the trap. Furthermore, just like the first verb, prolongs is also in the present tense. It is a continuous extension
And
because lies require more lies to survive, right? When left to their own devices, falsehood feeds on itself until the person becomes entirely conditioned to it, making any return to the heavy truth incredibly difficult.
so if they are being given all this rope, what is the specific boundary here? What does it mean that they are prolonged specifically in their transgression, or phytothianium?
Let me throw this back at you. Is an increase in resources always a blessing? Or can giving more power to a cruel person actually be their ultimate undoing?
I mean, we've all seen how power can absolutely destroy a person.
Right, and that's a vital educational point from the Qur'an here.
Yeah.
Not all increase is good. The verse is highly specific. They are prolonged within the field of transgression. An increase in wealth or social applause might just exponentially increase their arrogance and cruelty, not their guidance. And there's a profound sensory fact buried in the root of tugyan, which means transgression. It originally describes the catastrophic, violent overflowing of water in a flood.
Oh, wow. A flood. That completely changes the picture. It makes me think of a real-life celebrity whose totally unchecked ego ends up destroying their entire life and all their relationships. It looks powerful from the outside, but really it's just destructive. Does this mean their power is actually just an uncontrollable flood that they are drowning in?
That is precisely it. Moral transgression is the human soul violently exceeding its boundaries of truth and justice.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the word infi means they are entirely immersed underwater. They lose their vision and the moral air that honest people breathe. And adding there at the end means they own this flood. They meticulously built it as their permanent house.
But Adam, playing devil's advocate here, how does leaving them in this underwater house, in this flood, align with the concept of divine justice?
Well, if a verbal warning completely fails to stop someone from touching a hot stove, isn't the most effective and, frankly, just teacher the burn itself.
I guess it has to be, yeah.
Logically, human mockery relies on deceiving a victim and suddenly exposing them. The divine response is pure justice. It simply allows the deceiver to keep their win until it fully matures into a devastating price.
Right.
And the really profound fact we have to grasp is that God leaving them in transgression isn't an inability to stop them. It's the execution of a strict psychological law.
Whoa.
A soul actively choosing the downward path must sometimes hit rock bottom to finally see its own choices.
Oh, that makes so much sense. It's exactly like a stubborn addict in real life who refuses absolutely all help. They manipulate everyone until they finally experience the full painful consequences of their own actions. Is that full realization the truest form of justice?
It absolutely is. True justice isn't just an immediate external punishment. It is being left to taste the absolute, unfiltered fruit of your own choices. When they finally lose their inner peace and their trust in everyone around them, they can blame absolutely no one but themselves.
Which leads us to the final consequence. What does it actually mean, practically, that they wander blindly? The Arabic word being yamahun.
Ask yourself this: what is more dangerous? Losing your physical eyesight or having perfect vision but entirely losing your internal compass.
Oh, definitely losing your internal compass. You wouldn't even know which way to walk.
Exactly. And ama is absolutely not physical blindness. It is a moral, directional blindness.
Okay.
It describes someone moving erratically without any compass. They might have a ton of information and argue constantly in different camps, but they never arrive at a solid, restful truth. And the profound connection here is that prolonged transgression actively destroys a person's inner sensitivity, which directly causes this loss of compass.
Wait, it destroys their inner sensitivity? That's like someone driving recklessly at top speed because they think they are highly skilled, only to suddenly realize the brakes are completely gone. Is this wandering the inevitable loss of control after speeding past all those moral limits?
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Transgression is speeding without brakes, and ama is the subsequent terrifying loss of control.
Wow.
And the verb is in the present tense again, meaning this aimless wandering is continuous. Because they constantly mocked the truth, they killed their respect for it, leaving them with absolutely nothing to guide them.
So if we pull back and look at the broader sequence of this verse within the chapter, what ultimate function does this verse serve in exposing these hypocrites?
Well, is the goal of Revelation simply to quietly warn the believers about bad actors?
Hmm.
Or is it to violently force the bad actors to look into a terrifying mirror?
Oh, a mirror for sure.
Right. This verse acts as the climactic law governing the entire previous sequence of doublespeak, deception, and calling believers fools. It forcefully reveals that they aren't escaping through their wit. Their wit is the very trap pushing them into blindness. And the profound brilliance of the Qur'an here is that it uses the exact word the hypocrites used, mocking, transforming it from their verbal weapon into a literal destined consequence.
It uses their exact word. That's like the ultimate law of reflection. It reminds me of a real-life slander campaign, where the massive web of lies becomes so toxic that it completely destroys the reputation of the slanderer instead. Is this reflection just the inescapable mechanism of their defeat?
It is. And it isn't just a rhetorical flourish. It establishes a massive human value, the absolute necessity of respecting core truths.
Okay.
If you make light of faith, you lose the weight of honesty and justice. Without these weights, a person is left only with shifting desires and profound emptiness.
That brings us to a really relatable issue. What is the danger of misinterpreting this delay in consequences in our own daily lives?
If a terrible person becomes incredibly wealthy and popular, does that actually mean the universe is rewarding their bad behavior?
It definitely looks like it to a lot of people.
It does look like it, but we have to logically deconstruct the illusion of time. People often think that if they were truly doing something wrong, they would be punished immediately.
Right.
But time is not always a reward. It can be an establishment of evidence against them or a deliberate drawing out of someone who insists on wearing a mask. And the really profound fact is that a tyrant's rise in power is often just a longer rope wrapping around them, plunging them into deeper paranoia where they can't tell friend from foe.
Wait, paranoia. I'm fascinated by that psychological torture. It's like a real-life cutthroat CEO who finally reaches the top but lives in constant agonizing terror of being betrayed by everyone around them. Is that suffocating paranoia the actual consequence of their success?
Exactly. That is the exact justice described here. He who lives by deception inherently fears deception.
Wow.
Worldly success without moral grounding isn't a blessing at all. It's an immersion into a suffocating flood where they drown in their own need for control.
Changing focus a bit, how does the precise structure and rhythm of the Arabic words paint a picture of this downfall?
Have you ever watched a boulder start rolling down a steep hill? Does it stop to take a break, or does it accelerate until it crashes?
It definitely accelerates.
Right. And the verse is constructed as one unbroken, flowing sentence. Allah mocks them and prolongs them in their transgression. They wander blindly.
Okay.
There are no pauses. This mirrors the unbroken, terrifying slide of the soul. From mockery to being prolonged to transgression, straight into wandering. And here's the profound structural fact. The strict chronological order of the words. It starts with the ultimate authority, then the mechanism, the method, the environment, and finally the internal result.
That order is so intriguing. Wandering isn't the first step, it's the absolute end result. Does this mean we should be terrified of even a small, cynical joke, like just to sound smart in a meeting, because it might be the top of this slippery slope?
You should absolutely be terrified of it. The Quran uses this structure to teach us not to underestimate beginnings. A small, sarcastic dismissal of a profound truth can be the tiny, seemingly harmless seed that eventually leads to total moral disorientation.
So what does all of this deeply intricate psychology teach us about the actual relationship between humanity and the divine?
Does free will mean we are just left in an empty void? Or are we placed in a highly calibrated arena that exposes exactly what we truly want?
An arena makes a lot more sense.
Exactly. The relationship isn't reduced to instant punishment or total neglect. The divine manages consequences based on deeply just laws.
Okay.
The space we are given in life is an arena that reveals the heart. If you want truth, time is an opportunity. If you want mockery, time is a lure. And the really profound fact here is that while people think mocking values is a sign of intellectual independence, the Quran boldly exposes it as a symptom of a disease, a flimsy mask hiding a deep fear of commitment.
Oh, that is so true. It's like the classic classroom cynic in real life. You know, the kid who mocks every sincere project just because they're utterly terrified of trying hard and failing. Is this intellectual mockery really just a fragile defense mechanism?
It is the ultimate defense mechanism.
Yeah.
True strength is facing the truth directly, saying yes or no, and bearing the cost.
Yeah.
The hypocrite deeply needs the laughter to hide their internal trembling. Eventually, the laughter fades, the mask drops, and the fear is laid bare for all to see.
If that's what happens to an individual, what happens when this attitude of mockery spreads through an entire society?
If a community turns every serious moral issue into a late-night punchline, who suffers the most? The comedians or the community itself?
The community, without a doubt.
Right, because the social impact is devastating. When mockery becomes the accepted norm, the earnest defenders of truth feel embarrassed and go quiet.
Yeah, they retreat.
Meanwhile, proponents of falsehood become incredibly bold. And the terrifying fact the Qur'an warns about is that this creates a collective amma, a collective wandering. Society completely loses its compass because laughter has actively killed respect, and without respect, people entirely stop listening to wisdom.
You see that so clearly in real-life social media culture, right?
Yeah.
Earnestness is called cringe, and deep cynicism just goes viral. Does this collective loss of reverence make actual societal reform nearly impossible?
It makes it structurally impossible. Without an agreed-upon respect for truth, the path to reform is lost.
Wow.
Furthermore, the verse shows this isn't just a petty rivalry with believers, it's an enmity with the truth itself. A person mocking loyalty or honesty will eventually be crushed by their own betrayal, even if there isn't a single believer around them.
That brings up an important distinction. What is the psychological difference between a person who simply makes a mistake and someone who is permanently in this state of amma?
Who is in more critical danger? The traveler who suddenly realizes they are lost and asks for directions, or the one driving the wrong way, who turns up the radio and entirely ignores the signs.
The one ignoring the signs, obviously.
Right. Normal error comes with a lingering sense of being wrong. The person might eventually seek a guide.
Yeah.
Amma, however, is the complete chilling death of that feeling. It is losing the very sensation of being lost. And the profound fact here is that this state normalizes the ugly until it feels completely natural, and the truth starts to look strange and alien to them.
That is chilling. It reminds me of real-life corrupt corporate culture where the whistleblowers are the ones treated as weird, while the massive fraud is just business as usual. Is this normalization the ultimate point of no return?
It is the absolute edge.
Yeah.
And that is exactly why the Quran's warning is actually a profound, unmatched mercy. By aggressively exposing the terrifying end of this path wandering blindly, before the listener actually gets there, it provides a chance to wake up. The warning isn't a curse, it's a stark invitation to stop before the heart turns entirely to stone.
Which leads perfectly to our final practical application. How can we use this specific verse as a daily diagnostic tool for our own lives?
Do we read the open space and comfort in our lives as a VIP pass to do whatever we want, or as a quiet, continuous test of our gratitude?
It should definitely be a test.
Exactly. We have to read time differently. A delay in consequence is a moment generously given for review, not a license to escalate.
Right.
And the really profound fact that every listener must grapple with is this. Do I ever mock a moral obligation just to quietly escape the heavy burden of it?
That is such a piercing question. It's highly relatable, like mocking someone in real life who refuses to gossip, calling them too sensitive just to alleviate our own guilt for being toxic. Are these tiny everyday cynicisms the exact seeds of the transgression the verse warns about?
Yes, absolutely. Mockery isn't just a harmless difference of opinion. It is an aggressive act that pulls truth from the realm of the serious into the realm of play, firmly shutting the door to guidance. This verse is a dual mirror. It historically exposes the hypocrite, but it actively reflects our own hearts. It warns us that if truth becomes our joke, our lives will inevitably become a maze.
Adam, thank you so much for this explanation. It really shifts how we view the consequences of our words. To summarize our reflections today, mockery of the truth is never a harmless joke. It is a profound psychological trap. Worldly success and delayed consequences aren't always blessings. They can be the very rope that prolongs a person in their own transgression. And ultimately, when we strip values of their weight, we are punished not just externally, but by losing our inner compass, wandering blindly through life. It leaves us with a heavy question to ponder. Where in your own life might you be using cynicism and sarcasm as a shield, terrified of the responsibility that comes with taking the truth seriously? That's it for this episode of Insights. If you found this reflection helpful, follow the show and join us next time as we continue verse by verse in the Quran. Until then, take one idea from this verse into your day.